Okay, we're just doing a little program here today on Spurs. This is how they're bundled up when I get done with them, so that I don't lose the cords, the thongs that are on them. And I'm going to show you how this works now, a little bit about it. Okay, now when you go in and buy a spur, Hampton, he's a pretty big horse, so you got to be able to reach him, and you're always tucking your legs under trying to reach him and touch him. And see, what I do is I don't even hold the reins. I just touch him with the spur. Just touch him. He get in a little bit of trouble on one side, I start touching him, warning him that he's got a problem over there coming up. Or I like touch both of them into him and hold him to let him know he's got a problem, not to tense up, you know, to be prepared, you know. So, because he's a real big horse, I got ones with really big rowels, they give me a little bit more reach, so I don't have to pull so much pressure on my knees. And so this is the left spur, and here's the right spur, and these doodads here go up, and what you have now is underneath the boot you have a strap that wraps underneath your heel, bottom of the boot. And then you got this piece, and there's these two pieces here put on together, and they're a real tight fit. And then you got this, and it comes over and buckles over the boot, right? Well, you even have ones that you'll see that this is all they use. But the problem is this, is when you go to spurring, your spur's either going to slide down on the boot or it's going to ride up on the boot, okay? So you're not going to get the spur action out of it that you want. It's not going to be as concise, it's going to be sloppy. Now I'll show you what we do about that in a minute. Now, you can see here, come on a little bit closer. You can see here we lost one of our little doodads here. And here we got them. You see they're pretty worn. These ones have been on here since, I think, New Mexico anyway. They've been on here a long time. And this little rivet, this is the second rivet. It's brass, and you can see it's peened over here, and the hole in the spur's pretty big, and that brass thing's pretty worn down. One day it'll be worn out, and I'll either lose the rowel or I'll catch it in time and replace it. Okay, and since I don't have a musical instrument on the horse, we got chimes. Right, and this one, it got pulled off in the weeds or something. So we lost it, so I'll have to get another one and put it on there. And it's a rivet's doing okay for the moment. Now you see these aren't very severe. They're not meant to be, because we're not really spurring the horse much, you know. We're just using the spurs to talk to him. See, you can roll there, right on your hand, doesn't even hurt. We're just using the spurs to talk to him, to let him know go right or go left, because like I say, I usually don't use the reins. I don't even hold on to them. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I got my spurs rigged up, because this is how it works. Now I got two leather thongs on here, and what I do is I put them on the boot like this, and I go up to about the third hole in the strap, and then I have this thong in the back here, right? And I bring that forward, and I cross it under the boot. And now if you look, it's going down the side, it's going under the boot, comes out and crosses over. And I tie it off across the boot. So there it is, you see, it's tied off right there. Across the boot, comes from the top of the spur, crosses at the top of the spur, and it crosses under the boot. That keeps the spur from riding up on the boot. And then I don't want the spur to ride down either, so I put another one on here. You see it right there. Put another one on here, and I come around the front of the boot. I don't go underneath this time. I come around the front of the boot and tie it pretty tight right there. So I got one under the boot, one on top of the boot, going two different ways here. So these spurs, you see, it don't travel at all. Alright? And that means that when I go to touch the horse, it's right where I want it. It's always at the same place every time. It's not flopping around. It ain't loose, swinging down or nothing, okay? Swinging down, dragging on the ground. If I'm walking or something, it's tied up there out of the way, and it doesn't travel. And I've been riding them this way a long time. So that's, now you can see this is a pretty heavy metal spur. It's got some decoration on here. You can see right there some decoration. But this, I bought these spurs in Half Moon Bay, California. My other ones wore out. I lost one, got torn off in the bushes on an old railroad track. And a funny story, I was looking for a pair of spurs to get, and the Western shop feed store said, well, we have a real hard time keeping them in because they go out as fast as we get them. And I asked the guy, I said, why is that? And he goes, oh, the girls come in and buy them. I said, what? He goes, yeah, the girls come up from the city. This was on the California coast. And he goes, the girls come up from the city and they buy a pair of spurs to hang over their bed. He says, I know it's a little bit different, but he says that's where most of our spurs go to. And so we don't got the rowels half the time we're out, and different spur designs get bought up and taken out, so we don't got them either. So anyway, that's sort of interesting when you go to buy a set of spurs and the ladies beat you to it. So these are, like I say, pretty good. These have been a long ways. Tromped through a lot of mud. Now, one thing that happened is this rowel will touch on the ground a little bit. And if you look right there, there's a little burr there. Well, what happened is that little burr act like a little razor, and it will cut the hair off the horse. Little by little, you'll get a bare spot on the horse, right? So what happened is, Hampton, he's always trying to get up on the road. You know, he doesn't like to walk 3 feet away from him. He likes to get up on the concrete. So I'm always touching him with my left spur over here. I'm touching him on the side, keeping him pushed away from the road because he always wants to go there. Always. So he'd get a hair slowly trimmed off on that side to get a bare spot, right? So when he starts losing some hair over there, guess what I do? I cross the road for a few days and I ride the road on the other side of the road, and then I touch him with the other spur when he tries to get up in the road. So that's how I control that. But yeah, these old spurs, they need a little another thingy here. We'll get one somewhere. Anyway, that's the thing on spurs. And like I say, I just use them for touching the horse, talking to him. And he pretty much knows, you know, like when we get to an intersection, we might have to trot across. And, you know, if we get in some trouble, he can sense it. And he'll be listening pretty good. But usually if something coming up, there's a problem, and he ain't going to see it, like there's a deer or a turkey vulture down the hole that's going to blow up out of there, I'll like touch him and hold him. And then he knows that something's about to happen. Things like that. So, and I'll touch him to push him around a post. Like if he's cutting too close, he's going to take my knee off. I'll touch him and push him over a little bit. Mailboxes, things like that. So yeah, these been pretty good spurs, and you want them as heavy duty as you can get, because this part here will bend. It'll open up and bend, so you want them really heavy duty because you're constantly putting pressure on them. And so that's the story of these spurs. These are probably the best pair I ever had. I didn't usually go with a pair this heavy, but you know, you'd be spurring and everything, and slow your spurs to bend, and anyway, so there's where you're at. And then when I get done at night, I take them off and I tie them together and put put them up for the night.